verdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Siempre. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi visión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
What's happening? What's happening? Rise up.
Good morning. Good morning. Wake up and rise up, y'all.
Yeah.
Definitely good to be, as Kalonji would say, alive on arrival.
We
this
are here.
good Thursday morning.
No question. Alive on
are
arrival.
Here.
Yes.
Look, shout out to all the uprisers who are joining us this morning. You know that we could not do what we do without you. We appreciate you. And we would love if you would like, share, and subscribe to Black Power Media Reloaded. Make sure that those who you care about can get access to this content as well. Interact with us. You know, we do talk back, so we love it when you are commenting because it adds to the depth of the conversations that we have here on the Rise Up International Morning Show. Want to give a big shout out to all of our co-hosts who are not with us this morning because people have lives and some people live in different time zones. Most of us live in different time zones. I think that Kalonji, Ikemba, and Rakeem and myself are the only ones in the same time zone. We have, in the Eastern time zone, I'll say, because Fernando and Buna are in another time zone over in France, and then Natasha and Isaac are out on the West Coast. So your co-hosts are coming from all different places, and Daruba is in the motherland. So when we are here on the Rise Up International Morning Show, it's daytime for some of us, it's nighttime for some of us, and in between, you know, we are working, we're taking care of our families and other things, traveling to do the work that we do of organizing and helping people to understand the time that we're in and how it is that we resist. So whenever you only see a couple of us, or sometimes you see all of us, just know that when we are not here, you know, we're still doing the work, and resting and taking care of our families is, of course, a part of that work.
Hey, we like cholesterol. Even if we're not here, we still there. We everywhere.
Exactly right.
I got to give you one correction. I know you threw Natasha to the West Coast. She's actually in New York, but we can trade her with someone else though. It's all good.
You know, and for some reason, I thought that Natasha had made her way to the West Coast, but you know,
I might be out the loop. You might be right. So you know.
No, I don't know. Good to know that Natasha's still in New York. Everybody moves around, right? Except for me, because I'm always in the hood. I'm always in the hood.
I like that jab talking about I'm always in the hood, like you're in the hood a I'm in the hood right now. That's why I got the camera off. I don't even want y'all to see hood it is right here.
You know, it's so crazy because people always want to know, like, where in Atlanta do you live? Or in our cases, where in Metro Atlanta do we live? Because we don't live in Atlanta proper. But I'm always telling people, like I live in the hood, man. Like, I'm in Decatur, where is greater. Like, this is not.
Don't worry about where I live. You know what I mean? Folks, you know, I can't tell you where I live. You know what I'm saying? You think I was hiding. You know what I mean?
Well, for some people, for some reason, people think Atlanta is like this mythical, magical place. So they want to know exactly where in Atlanta you are. And they don't even realize when people are telling them stuff like, yo, I live in Macon or I live in Douglasville. Like, that's Atlanta. That's not Atlanta. But, you know, the metro Atlanta area covers 9 counties. And it's expansive. So people can live in the metro Atlanta area and not be in Atlanta proper. You know, I was born and raised in Atlanta proper, used to live there until a couple of years ago. But hey, here I am right down the street. Which, you know, back in the day, it didn't make a difference because it was all Atlanta. Like all of these little cities, Chamblee, Dunwoody, Brookhaven, all of this, it was all Atlanta. You know, they were areas, but they were not incorporated cities. So it's amazing to me always when I hear people talking about where they live as it pertains to Atlanta, and they don't really understand the history of Atlanta and how things have gotten carved up. But, you know, I think that might be a show for another day.
Maybe it is.
Could be one of our webinars.
Without a doubt, because you're talking about the history of Atlanta. You know, I think that folks have to understand the plantation before the migration.
Absolutely.
I think that's really important because, you know, they forget about the Atlanta race rebellion that they call the race riot. You know, they forget about and that you were you've been fighting heavy on dealing with the whole Cop City conundrum.
Yes.
In fact, question posed a couple of days ago. I didn't get to respond online, but for folks who don't know, and I want to tap in real quick, and this isn't a story that we planned on covering, but I know that there was a flag raising, I believe, last week, dealing with the whole Cop City piece and whatnot. Do you have any updates on that? And can you kind of give people who are not in Atlanta an idea of where it's located?
Where Cop City is? Oh, yes. Cop City is located in the heart of East Atlanta, Gresham Park neighborhood, right around the corner from McNair Senior High School and Barack Obama Elementary School, directly in the backyards of people who live in the Boulder Walk and Starlight Heights communities, in a Black neighborhood in the city of Atlanta, right down the street from where I grew up, and bordering 2 juvenile prisons. So you get a militarized police training facility right in the backs of 2 juvenile detention centers that is also smack dab in the middle of a forest, the South River Forest, that houses the South River, which is the headwater of the Altamaha, the largest body of water in Georgia, vital watershed to DeKalb County, and also a park, Entrenchment Creek Park, which was taken away from us so that they could build Cop City, with Constitution Lakes on the other side, where they have seriously impeded upon that park ground as well. So it is in the middle of a neighborhood, like literally in the middle of a neighborhood.
So something important that you said in the middle or bordering 2 juvenile detention centers. You mentioned the forest, but one important piece when we talk about the irony, you mentioned an elementary school. What's the name of the elementary school?
That is Barack Obama Elementary School.
How fitting.
And think about the high school, though, Ronald E. McNair. For those who don't know who Ronald E. McNair was, McNair was a Black man who went up on the Space Shuttle Challenger. Black man in space. So it used to be Walker High School.
Did he actually make it to space? Was he on the Challenger that exploded?
So he was on the Challenger that exploded.
Right. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. I remember that was in the 80s, I believe. when the whole thing went down with Robert McNair. So it's just the irony of this whole thing. It's like you have a black man who uh, was on a failed space craft, and you have Barack Obama, who was on a failed mission, period. And
Yep.
we said this is where we're going to plant Cop City in the middle of this situation, along with these juvenile detention centers. You check it out, the Rise Up International Morning Show. You get all kinds of tidbits and tadbits and hadbits.
Yeah, like Get Black With Me was saying that they learned from the Young Thug trial that they have streets in the hood called Confederate Road or Drive. No longer do we have Confederate Avenue here. It's now United Avenue. That happened some years back. However, on the former Confederate Avenue, which is now United, they still have the Georgia Public Safety headquarters. So when you see those black cars with the silver writing Georgia Department of Public Safety is basically another arm of the Georgia State Patrol. Their headquarters is still on United Avenue that used to be Confederate, but renaming Confederate Avenue itself has not taken away the names of all of the other Confederates that streets are named after.
Right.
Those people who have done so much harm to Black people still have counties, streets, schools named after them. And of course, since former and now current President Trump has come back into office, they have renamed the military installations after Confederates. So, you know, they want it to be with us always.
But, you know, to your point, you know, we're talking about a city, when you talk about Atlanta or the state itself, the surrounding areas, when you talk about this particular space, it was only a few years ago that they actually took the Confederate flag off the Capitol. It was only a few years ago that they actually took down certain racist statues. I remember you would be protesting at the Capitol, and right next to me, I remember looking up, and I forget the cracker's name, but you have these Confederate generals posted right next to you while you're protesting the Confederacy. This place is so cold. I remember being at an event in Austell, I believe, and my son and I, we was walking through this particular arts event or whatever, and these white folks stopped this old white man. He's like, "Would you like to support the preserve the Confederacy campaign?" I mean, looking at me. I mean, really looked me in my face and asked me, and he's dead serious. Him and his, I mean, like, I don't know what kind of Negroes you think these are, but I'm like, man,
I mean, you got to consider that. You have to consider the fact that in this past legislative session that just ended on April 4th, this was the first session in which there was legislation put forward that would change the mandate of the Stone Mountain Historical or Preservation Committee. And part of that changing of the mandate included to remove from their duties the duty to maintain a monument to the Confederacy.
Wow.
For those that don't know, the KKK here in Georgia has been headquartered, was founded in Stone Mountain, Georgia for the longest. They still have annual days and marches and events there. And on Stone Mountain, the carving of those people, those men on the horses, those are all Confederates. And part of the duty of the Stone Mountain, like the people who curate things at Stone Mountain itself, at the park and all of that around the mountain, part of that mandate was to maintain a monument to the Confederacy. So there have been, just in this session now, 2025, there have been efforts to remove that part of their mandate so that we can get that monument to the Confederacy blasted out. You know, if you want to put up something, then go ahead and put up Dr. King, because this is his birthplace. You know, not that I'm necessarily waving the flag for John Lewis, but did a lot of work here. Lots of people who you could carve into the side of a mountain where a lot of Black people frequent, walking up and down that mountain for exercise, taking their children there for recreation. I personally don't frequent the place, but a lot of people do. And what a slap in the face is it for you to continue to have that monument there? And for me, I don't go where I'm not welcome. So it's not something that I'm about to deal with, but it would be great to have that changed.
Listen, the only stone mountain they got for Black folks out here is tombstones. That's what they got around here. They ain't playing no games. They ain't got time for all that. In fact, I like it like that. I like it. I like the fact that they remain their right to be crackers. Anyway, check it out. The Rise Up International Morning Show. I was at a meeting a few weeks ago, and this non-melanated individual was offended by me using the word cracker. And I was just like, well, I was like, well, I never. You know what I'm saying? What shall I call those who crack whips on the back of my ancestors?
Exactly.
Exactly. You're live and direct. This is the Rise Up International Morning Show. You have Kiana Jones-Moore. I am Kalanji Changa. We're in parts unknown right now, not in Stone Mountain. Don't get it twisted. But we have some news and views and a few different clues. We have a guest coming up at the 9 o'clock hour. And for now, we're going to take a quick, what do you call it up? What you call it up?
Look, I call them Black Power-Ups. Other co-hosts call them breaks for Black Power. Before we get to the break, I want to remind y'all of the webinar training next week.
Thank you so much.
April 17th at 6 p.m. We will have a webinar on Beyond Cop Cities and Ultra Counterinsurgency. There is a registration link that we will drop in the chat for people so that you can share that and so that you can register, because registration is required. But we're excited for this. This is the first of many teaching webinars that we'll have. Webinars, teach-ins, whatever you want to call them. We are not just getting on here talking at you and sometimes answering questions on your comments, but we want to make sure that Black Power Media is truly what we say that we are, which is organizing, which is informative, which is helping you resist. And part of that resistance is necessary political education. So make sure that you join us for Beyond Cop Cities and Ultra Counterinsurgency next week, April 17th at 6 p.m. That's Eastern time.
I'm glad you said that because I almost forgot. Got so many things coming up. But I want to remind folks, definitely to your point, that particular webinar we will be doing, this is a Guerrilla Intellectual University webinar. We will be pushing this once a month, different types of webinars. This particular webinar on April 17th, we have Kiana Jones-Moore, we have Dr. Joy James, we have Ward Churchill, who's just been added to the piece. If you're unfamiliar with Ward Churchill, he has a few different books dealing with COINTELPRO, the COINTELPRO papers. Make sure you check that out. We have a good brother, Myron Gilmore, who is a young gun who will be tapping into more of what counterinsurgency looks like today. And we also have, as a guest host, our brother Rakeem Shabazz. And I'll be joining as well. I don't think I'll be hosting this time. I'll be presenting because I think that sometimes folks get used to the talking and not enough teaching. So I would like to share some of what I've learned throughout the years in regards to counterinsurgency. This is one of the things I'm passionate about, because when we talk about cop city, police states, and counterinsurgency internationally, I think that we often have to be reminded, and that's part of what we'll be talking about today in regards to some of these stories as to how counterinsurgency works on the campuses across the U.S. and across the globe. Anyway, we appreciate you mentioning that, Kiana. Again, you're checking out the Rise Up International Morning Show. We're going to hit you with this quick Black Power. Who should we throw at them today?
You know, there's so much. You know, I'm always a fan of Dr. Amos and Wilson. Always love to hear anything from Omali Yeshitela.
You know what? I think you're right. I think let's hit him with some Amos Wilson. You're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. Stay tuned. We with you.
most people, when we say Afro-American, they think only of the Negroes in the United States, but they don't realize that 2/3 of Brazil consists of people of African blood, which means they're also Afro-American because Brazil is in South America. And in all of these, many of these countries in South America and Central America, and even in Canada, they are heavily populated with people whose ancestors came from Africa. So when you total up the number...
A couple of days ago, and it just so happened that, and I'm serious about this, when I approached the desk, there was a developmental psychology book on that desk. And I looked through that book, and there was nothing on the black child. And I'm talking about at a black institution. Why is that? Why does that exist?
For a number of reasons. One of the reasons, I think, and an overall reason, is that these psychologies, you see, just by the title of them, are called developmental psychology. And that deceives many people into thinking then that this is a psychology that has equal applicability across board. And unfortunately, many black schools and black scholars operate under this illusion. One of the things that we don't, as black people, I think we are not conscious enough of, is how white disciplines, not only psychology, but sociology, all are part and parcel, really a part of the process of maintaining the subjugation of black people. And I don't think we are aware to the degree that we should be that when we're engaged in standard American education, we are actually engaged in what are called European studies or white studies. We have a lot of people who went off, you know, in the 60s, and we demanded black studies as if we were demanding something ethnic, as if what had been offered in America and what's being offered in American universities is non-ethnic and objective and across the board. And therefore, the European then doesn't call his courses the psychology of the white child, or the sociology from the European perspective, or white economics, but this is exactly what it is. And therefore you have in many black schools then this idea that simply because it is not overtly labeled white or European, that it is not therefore white or European in origin. And to a great extent, these psychologies are exactly what they should be, in a sense. They are there to maintain the position of Europeans as such. The European, in a sense, protects his own interest by not really talking about the black child in any truthful light and presenting the black child in a different sort of light. The ultimate outcome of studies, even in black schools, ultimately is to maintain the European in a superior position as such.
What?
That was Dr. Amos Wilson. Yeah, I think that folks need to definitely study Dr. Amos Wilson, man. There's so much that he brought to the table. His last works, Blueprint for Black Power, is like it should be, at the risk of sounding blasphemous, a Bible for African people. You know what I'm saying? Talk about over 900 pages.
That's definitely not blasphemous, because I believe that, and I'm saying this for those who don't know, as an ordained minister and someone who co-pastors a church, the Bible is not infallible.
Right.
The Bible is called the Bible because somebody wanted to call it that. And those who have truly studied and know that all that's within the Bible is not 100% true. That's number one. Number two, there are so many books. Like in that book that we call the Bible, there are 66 books, but there's a lot more that were not included. This canonized Bible that most of us use include works that were handpicked by people. And you have to remember that this goes back to the Council of Nicaea, a lot of inner workings within the Catholic Church about who they wanted Jesus to appear as, how they wanted to slut shame women and leave certain things out, how they wanted to only highlight and mention women in some places in a very derogatory way. And then how they wanted to skirt history and did not want to include factual information that would reveal who God truly is, who Jesus is, where these things took place, to take away political power, even because the church was all wrapped up in politics, still is all wrapped up in politics. If you live in the United States, you know what white Christian nationalists do and how that contributes to white hegemonic thinking, but also just like the fact that if you say something should be a Bible and somebody will say, oh my God, that's blasphemous. No, it's not, because your Bible could be anything that you use on a daily basis or regularly as an educational tool. It could be something that you constantly go to for guidance, wisdom, direction. And yes, blueprint for Black Power should be a Bible for people.
No doubt. No doubt.
We should have Revolution in These Times being a Bible for people.
Hey, listen, man, don't go that far. They're gonna try to crucify me. Anyway,
look, they let them come. Let them come.
I'm already ready, but you know what I'm saying. But like I said, definitely appreciate you all tapping in. This is Black Power Media Reloaded, and we are reloading. You know what I mean? And we have a few different things coming up, a few different things we're going to talk about. I think Kiana's going to be cutting out early today, but before she does, we're going to get into some news, views, and otherwise. And I want to say this real quick, right? Because, it's no secret that some former folks and I parted ways a while back. And some people are like, well, what's up with the numbers? Indeed, they talk about the whole shadow ban thing. Indeed, with the quality of individuals we have and the shows that we have, there's no question that we're shadow banned. So folks, when you ask us about certain things, it is up to you to assist in the marketing and promotions. You know what I mean? We're rolling with primitive tools, for lack of better words. You know what I mean? Not to go back to Kiana's thing, we coming with some old David and Goliath piece. We got these rocks, we got these stones, and we fighting this Cyclops. You know what I'm saying? And we're clear that when we come with the particular work that we come with, when it's all the way real and it's no fillers and it's no BS, unfortunately, folks like to be entertained. And we can't always offer you entertainment, but what we can do is we can offer you the best of the best. What you can get when you come to this platform is you can get a show with Dr. Gerald Horn on it. You can get a show with Dr. Joy James on it. You can get a show with Professor Griff on it. You can get a show with Kiana Jones Moore on it. You can get shows with all types of different individuals that put in serious work. You can find anyone on this platform from veteran members of the Black Liberation Army to former political candidates and all in between. You can get Grammy Award winning artists, or you can get revolutionary artists from the streets. That's what
you get children of the revolution who are now talking about what it was like growing up revolutionary, the lessons that they've learned, the lives they've lived, encouragement for those of us who are parents, not to think that we're putting our children in danger by living revolutionary lives, talking about how it is that we move, how we should maintain ourselves, and how we keep our families safe. Even in this work, you're not going to find this caliber of presentation on another platform. And I say that confidently. It's not to put anyone else down, but it's definitely to say that we know who we have here. You're not going to get a warrior class on another network. The amount of political prisoners who have shows here, who talk about their experiences, who talk about what it was like to be a part of the Black Panther Party, to be a part of the Black Liberation Army, the people who are formerly political prisoners who are now outside of the Iron Wall. They are highlighting the stories of other people. You don't have a Brother Frank on other networks talking about those people who are still behind the wall, because we still got work to do, y'all. we still got people that we have to free. Yes, we are happy that some people have come home, but there are so many more who we have to free. Until we live in a place where Assata can come back here and not be afraid, then we got work to do.
Listen, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm just thinking about this is the only platform where you can get Dr. Mutulu Shakur's memorial services live and direct. It's the only platform that you can get a tribute to Sekou Odinga while he's still living, fundraisers and whatnot. The only platform you can get check out the memorial for Baba Bilal Sunni Ali live and direct. The only platform where you can get a surprise birthday party for Mumia Abu Jamal and actually have him call in. You know what I mean? This is the quality of programming that we're bringing to the table. You want to hear from them, we bring them to you. You want to hear from a Dr. Cornell West, we bring them to you. You understand what I'm saying? This is what we're doing here at this particular platform. So what we're asking you to do is to make sure that you tell a friend. It won't cost you too much. Nope. Share it. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe, like, and if you really gangster, if you really want to take it to another level, because we want to take this thing off YouTube, and we intend on it. We don't intend on just being, this is not a YouTube channel. We intend on growing. We want you to be able to turn on your TV. So we're working on some things right now as we speak. We have some folks behind the scene that are working on some things so that you can see Black Power Media on your television set. I know I sound old school when I say television.
No, anyway, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, but so if you really feeling funky, go to blackpowermedia.org and hit that donate button and say, you know what? Listen, I'm against this mercenary media, and I'm against these counter-revolutionaries and anti-revolutionary media. So I want to bring to the table, I want to bring to the forefront something pure, uncut, unadulterated, and something that's sucker-free. You know what I mean? We have a magazine, Afro-Pick magazine. You know what I mean? We have some other projects I'm not even going to mention just yet because there's so many biters out there that we can't even go to that. But anyway, I just got kind of excited because I'm thinking back.
Yeah, it's something to be excited about. It is something to be excited about. And what's up to Mercury or Lord? Haven't seen you in a while, and it might be because I've been missing, might be because you've been missing, but definitely great to see that you are here with us. Shout out to all the uprisers. Y'all know the value that you bring here. And also just want to say, y'all, that we continue to evolve. And as we continue to evolve, we want to hear from you. If there's something that you think we should cover that we haven't covered, if there are places that you think things are missing, let us know, because we are here not just so that we can edify ourselves or hear ourselves talk, because we like to have these conversations. Kalanji and I have these conversations on the phone. We don't have to have these conversations here just for the sake of having them, but we are intending to bring something of value to you. And to that end, one of the things that we will begin very soon is we will be having hangouts for those who are subscribed through Patreon, those who are subscribed through YouTube. If you are subscribed to Black Power Media Reloaded in any way, we'll be having exclusive hangout sessions where we'll talk on a deeper level, where you'll get to know a little bit more about us. You can ask us about our history, how we started organizing, the work that we've been doing, how things have been coming along. And you can also ask, hey, why don't y'all ever talk about this? Or why don't y'all ever talk about that? Definitely a more intimate space for us to get to know you better so that we can understand who we're speaking with, who it is that we have supporting us, and how we can better support you. So stay tuned for those announcements as well.
You know what, Kiana, we've been rapping so much, and we get into the spirit of things, and Kiana takes us to church, so she's a true reverend, right? And I wasn't even watching the clock. I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? What time it is? So I want to point something out, because we actually have a guest coming up, right? And he's in the studio, one of my favorite brothers I've been knowing for a couple of decades now, and he's been putting in serious work. But I want to mention to folks that if you go to our channel, there's an announcement. If you go to our Instagram, Imam Jamel Alameen, formerly H. Rap Brown, who is one of the primary reasons that I'm in the city of Atlanta, who is a political prisoner. He's been, of course, as we know, he's been diagnosed with cancer, and he's been given 10 months to live. So we have a statement from his son, my brother Kyrie. For folks who don't know, I am a part of Imam Jamil Al-Amin's community, and been fighting on his behalf for decades. He's been locked down for 24 years. I've been in Atlanta for 21 years. But again, he's been given 10 months to live according to their doctors. Now, it's criminal in so many different ways. For one, we know that Imam Jamil Al-Amin is an individual that goes beyond being a Muslim. He's a brother who was the chairman of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was also the honorary minister of justice for the Black Panther Party. And his story it just goes on and on and on. He cleaned up the West End community. In fact, he brought the first full-time masjid here to Atlanta. First full-time masjid. And, he's just, when it comes to movement, he's one of, I would argue, the closest thing to Malcolm X alive today, the closest thing to El-Hajj Malik Shabazz. But why don't you hear about him? You don't hear about his work as much because of the fact that he has muscle in his voice, because he's a true organizer, because he's an individual that is not afraid and who's never been scared, who's never been afraid. So what we've noticed the state has done, for some reason, the majority, many of our freedom fighters, particularly political prisoners, have been diagnosed with cancer. And not only political prisoners, but folks who are out now who were political prisoners. Folks like Dhruba Ben Wahad, who you mentioned earlier. Folks like OG Shaka Thanin, who transitioned from some form of cancer. What we're doing today, it is not a coincidence that on this day, a show that's been planned for a minute, we have our brother who happens to be not only a poet, a professor, a freedom fighter, but a scientist who has, in his words, and in a testimony of many folks who you can find on his website, has reversed cancer. We want to bring to the stage our brother Heru Ofori-Atta. What's happening, Heru? How you doing, brother?
I'm on top of the world. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We hear you live and direct. We already knew you was on top of the world. That's why we got you here, bro.
All right. Good to hear from you, man. Haven't spoken to you since the pandemic. You had me on to talk about the pandemic, and hopefully we were able to save some lives by giving people ways that they could heal themselves at home. So it's always a pleasure to come on your show, man.
Hey, bro, man, listen, man, we go back before I had a show. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm definitely grateful. Heru is dope on so many levels. If there's a such thing as an African Renaissance man, I'm gonna give that to him. You know what I mean? I first heard of Heru going back to our brother Nkrumah down in Miami. Yeah. When you all were doing the I believe it was conscious content on the CD pieces and whatnot, back on the spoken word. And Heru's a cold poet as well. You know what I mean? He gonna make me come out of retirement. But anyway, we appreciate you coming through today. This is my sister co-host today, Kiana Jones Moore.
Pleasure to meet you, Kiana.
Wow, so good to have you here.
All right, pleasure to meet you.
No doubt. So Heru, I think the last time I talked to you, were in VI. You was teaching down in St. Thomas. In fact, I was trying to catch up with you, but you was too busy for me. I ain't gonna talk about that right now. But anyway, I went down there. I said, "Yo, what the restaurant say?" He said, "Man, I'm busy. Call me back next week." Anyway, you're talking about, first of all, tell us about, your journey as a scientist and a healer, because, some of the claims that you have, we know from the past, folks like Dr. Sebi and others were scrutinized and in many cases arrested for saying that they could do certain things.
Sure.
First of all, why do you think that is? Why would folks be against teaching about health or against healing? Let's start with that.
So there's two ways to look at it. And the most cynical way is to what you call steel man the case of the powers that be. And so steel man in the case is to give their best argument for why they would harass people who have made claims or said that they're healing people from diseases that the mainstream medical establishment has deemed to be uncurable or irreversible. And what that is based on the opportunistic nature of human beings around people in peril. So people would make what they call snake oil or what have you to prey upon people who need hope or people who are very desperate for some type of solution. And so there is a segment of people who have done those types of activities, right? Who have preyed upon innocent people and people who are desperate to get some type of solution to their illness, because a sick person is willing to do anything to get their health back, right? Particularly someone with a terminal illness. And so what the powers that be do is that they will use that to be the main linchpin for why they're cracking down on people, as if they really care about people. And that would be the least cynical way to look at them. But that is the most cynical way to look at humanity and the people who are making these claims. And from time to time, there are people who have made discoveries outside of the scientific establishment and medical establishment, which later on become part of the establishment. I mean, we know the stories of scientists in Europe believing that the Earth was the center of the universe or the center of the solar system, until you have people like Galileo in the European society say, actually, it's the sun. And those people get imprisoned. Those people get maligned and even tortured because it goes against the prevailing narrative. So when we talk about health, we have to understand that there's a problem, because health has an intersection with commerce. So now you have what you call vested interests, which we can call the pharmaco-medical establishment, where the pharmaceutical companies completely control medical curriculum. So your doctor now has become really your pharmacist in a lot of ways. The allopathic medical system is actually useful when it comes to emergencies. So if you get shot, if you get into a car accident, they're into what you call triage care, trauma care. And a lot of that has cultural implications, because the way you do one thing is how you do everything. And what I mean by that is that European society, they've been able to get a foothold on the world through war. So because of that cultural inclination, their medicine is actually wartime medicine. So they're very good at taking a soldier who's been injured, patching them up, stabilizing them, and throwing them back into the field. And so if you are in an emergency, you're having a stroke, a heart attack, you're hit by a car, hit by a train, those are the best people to go to, because they will be able to stabilize you so that you can, quote unquote, fight another day. But when it comes to chronic disease and long-term health, they're actually the worst place to go to. And this is not just me talking. According to Johns Hopkins University, and I will cover this in my lecture on Saturday in Atlanta, and we're going to talk about the lecture, the venue, the time, and all of that. So Saturday, April 12th, I'll be at Exchange. It's on Noonan Street, but I'll put the flyer up. It starts at 4 p.m. And the title is the title of my book, The Successful Eradication of Cancer Using Intracellular Parasite Theory. But essentially, when you have a system that has an intersection with commerce, you have all types of outsized incentives, and people's behavior follow incentives. So like I'm saying, the Johns Hopkins University and Howard University came out with a study in 2015 stating that medical error, which is also termed iatrogenics. So iatrogenics means death by doctor or medical error, is actually the third leading cause of death in the United States. So you have the first leading cause of death being heart disease, the second being cancer, and then third used to be respiratory illnesses. Even before COVID, it actually now is medical error. So what they're saying is that there's only two other conditions that are more dangerous to have than going to the doctor, which is cancer and heart disease. Everything else is below. So you actually have a higher chance of having anything else besides actually going to the doctor, aside from cancer and heart disease. And I have the receipts, and we're going to cover all of that, because anytime you talk, you need to provide evidence for what you're saying. And what matters is that I give people the receipts so that they can actually look at it. Whatever medication you're taking, I give you the methodology and show you how to look at the side effects of the medication you're taking, because 99% of people are taking medications and have no clue of what the side effects of their medications are, because their doctor never shared it with them, the pharmacist never shared it with them, which creates actually a human rights issue, which is a violation of the Geneva Convention around informed consent, which was put together during the Nuremberg Code after World War II, where Dr. Mengele was doing experiments on people without their consent. Yes.
I'm sorry. Will you please announce the venue again? Because you froze a little bit while you were announcing the venue for Saturday.
Yes, absolutely. So the venue is Arts Exchange, 2148 Noonan Street, East Point, Georgia, 30344. And people can go to the EradicateConference.com website to get tickets if they so desire. There's an online opportunity for people to watch who are not in the Atlanta area, and then there's an opportunity for you to buy tickets to come personally. We expect it to be standing room only. We are going to be starting at 4 p.m. on the dot, because there's a lot of information to cover. So I would advise people to get there early. Let me see if I can share the flyer through this portal. Let me see if I can do that for you all.
Forgive me, I got knocked off for some reason. I don't know what in the world happened. Soon as I started talking about how great you were.
No, it's okay. Heru has been giving us a wealth of information already. And I just want to co-sign, if it means anything, but want to co-sign what Heru has been talking about as far as the medical industry, how it is that emergency rooms are used. And unfortunately, because of economic circumstances, many people only go to an emergency room, and it ends up not benefiting them because they don't have primary care physicians. And I will be very honest with you, I'm a person who does not frequent even a primary care physician, because people like Heru exist and they have information that's available that I do take advantage of. And one of the things that I see is that those who are following a holistic health path are much better off than those who are reliant on medication. I have seen on Heru's website, for example, you will see testimonial after testimonial of people who have used, the olive leaf extract, which is something that I firmly believe in, oil of oregano, olive leaf extract, those things that are vital for us living healthy, holistic lives. Also, for me, I will share that I've been on a reset, like a health reset, a lifestyle reset, and I've lost 22 pounds in 5 weeks. And people will look at me and say, oh my gosh, that's too much, too soon. And it's actually not. But the way I've done it is, one, being more active, deciding to make sure to have physical activity for about 20 to 30 minutes a day. Two, I have changed my eating pattern, and it does not consist of a fad diet. It consists of real food all the time, but increasing my water intake, making sure that I am eating a plant-based diet, which only means mostly fruit and vegetables, making sure that I'm properly balancing my protein, fat, and carbohydrates from fruits and vegetables, making sure that I am not overindulging in things like bleached flour. And there's a lot that we eat that contains bleached flour. Any type of sugar that is not naturally coming from fruit and veggies are detrimental to us, honestly, and we don't need to consume a bunch of it. But there are other people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing, and they are doing things like taking olive leaf extract, and they no longer have hypertension. They are no longer diabetic or pre-diabetic. These are people who have had real results simply following paths that have been followed before us by our ancestors and those who believe that everything we need is in our food. So I appreciate you, Heru, and needed to make my comments before I drop off because Kalanji knows I got to go teach my German lesson. But really, really just want to appreciate you for the work that you do and all that you provide, and really hope that those who are listening will share not only this broadcast, but will share Saturday's event so that people can come out, whether they tune in virtually or in person, to learn more about all that it is that you do.
No doubt.
Yeah, I thank you, Kiana, and it's a pleasure to hear your commentary because you actually did your homework. So you went on the website and you looked at the testimonials to be able to vet what I'm talking about. And it's very important. I don't want anyone to take anything I'm saying as gospel. Please do the follow-up research and just check out if what I'm saying is actually true. When I say to you that medical error is the third leading cause of death, according to Johns Hopkins, everyone can go on Google and see if what I'm saying is true. You'll see the studies, the Harvard University studies. If I say that I have experience in reversing cancer, high blood pressure, and diabetes, I should be able to show you the receipts, and it's on my website. You can go there, and these are not 30-second testimonials. These are 1-hour interviews with people who are diagnosed with all types of cancer, stage 3 prostate cancer, 90 days to live with esophageal cancer, endometrial cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, all these different cancers that show up in different parts of the body. We've developed a protocol to deal with it because we believe that the medical establishment actually has the wrong theory of cancer. So their theory of cancer is a mutagenic theory of cancer. And the point of a theory is you judge the strength of a theory by its predictive value. And so when you understand a theory, then you're able to stop things from happening or to actually accelerate things happening. So if you have a proper theory of electricity, then you know how to turn off electricity and you know how to pump electricity to certain places. But you have the wrong theory of electricity, then you'll have no control of what happens with electricity. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is that if we juxtapose that modality of thinking towards the rates of cancer, more and more people are getting cancer and dying from cancer. Well, the World Health Organization has said by 2050, 25 years from now, the rates of cancer are expected to double per capita. So if that's the case, that means that the medical establishment knows that there is no solution on the horizon. And as a matter of fact, it's just getting worse. So if you had the proper theory of cancer, the cancer rates would actually be going down. And the mutagenic theory of cancer just is saying that you have uncontrolled cell division, somatic cell division through mutation of DNA. And so because of these mutations, it's causing somatic cells to be divided uncontrollably. And somatic cells are just every other cell except for what they call reproductive cells or what they call germ cells. So these are all the other cells that are having some type of uncontrolled division due to mutation. And that is not the theory of cancer that I have seen to be the most effective theory. And so there are other theories of cancer. There's a metabolic cancer that's posited by Dr. Thomas Seyfried. And there's another theory of cancer that I have, which is a parasitic theory of cancer that is also based on metabolism as well, because these parasites feed off of glucose. Cancer feeds off of glucose. So anybody who, and as a matter of fact, Dr. Thomas Seyfried has done laboratory studies and found that every single cancer feeds off of glucose as its main energy source. Glutamine being second, but that's a different conversation. But glucose is the main and the primary source of energy for cancer cells. So that means that anybody who's been diagnosed with cancer, the first thing that the oncologist should tell them is to not eat sugar. But I have cancer patient after cancer patient coming to me, and I've lived in a cancer ward for a month and a half. I've literally lived there because I had a family member who was sick with cancer. And so I was able to see what they feed people in the cancer wards. And in the morning, they're giving you pancake and maple syrup. They're giving you donuts. They're giving you cake. They're giving you Jell-O. They're giving you cookies and crackers. And all of this converts into sugar. So all of these refined carbohydrates convert to sugar within 10 minutes of you eating them. So now what's happening is that you're feeding the cancer, but then they're giving you chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, and the cancer, even if it goes away temporarily, it tends to come back within a year or two, even stronger for people. So they'll cut off one breast, and then they'll cut off another breast. And now you're a woman, you don't have any breasts. And then they'll take out your womb. They'll give you hysterectomy. And then after they take out your womb, they'll say, okay, well, you can spare a kidney. So they'll take out a kidney. And it goes on and on and on until basically you're mutilated as a human being and they run out of things to take out. But anybody who has ever grown fruit trees knows that if you have a diseased fruit, the way that you solve the problem is not just cutting the fruit off of the tree, because what happens is that the disease will just spread to the other fruits on the tree. You have to deal with the root cause and the soil health of that tree to be able to deal with the systemic problem that has been plaguing that tree. So you don't deal with cancer by cutting out a body part. The cancer will just go and migrate to different places because you didn't deal with the original root cause. And what we found is this, and this will be shown on Saturday, through the work of a German doctor, Dr. Alphonse Weber. He's shown that when you take the blood of every single person who's been diagnosed with cancer or anybody who's died of cancer, so he even took cadavers, dead people, he took their blood, and when you put it under a microscope, you can see moving parasites in the blood of every single cancer patient, even the blood of dead people. You can still see moving parasites. And I'm going to show receipts in this. And then when we fast forward, this will be very appropriate, Kalanji, because the last time you had me on, we were talking about the pandemic. We were in the height of the pandemic where everyone was on lockdown, and you had me on talk about it. And I talked about using certain herbs that you could use along with zinc, because it turned out that there were studies that zinc, when it penetrates the cell, it shuts off an intracellular apparatus called RNA polymerase, which is responsible for copying RNA viruses, which SARS-CoV-1 and SARS-CoV-2 are. So when you looked at the papers for SARS-CoV-1, which was before SARS-CoV-2, they used zinc to shut off the replication of the virus, which means that you weren't making copies of the virus, which were ending up flooding your body. And once your immune system could not handle the viral replication, the virus then goes through what you call immune escape. So when it's immune escape, that's when you start presenting with sickness. So now the job then is to get zinc into the cell to shut off the Xerox machine, which is the RNA polymerase. And so you use what is called a zinc ionophore, because zinc has a problem getting into the cell. And you remember one of the things they talked about is hydroxychloroquine. And then they, during that time, they ridiculed hydroxychloroquine and tried to make people scared of hydroxychloroquine. Right. But it turned out that there were scientific papers showing that hydroxychloroquine is what you call a zinc ionophore. It allows zinc to rush into the cell because zinc has a problem going into the cell because of its 2 positive ionic charges. So it creates a polarity between the cell wall and zinc. It's almost like 2 positive charged magnets. So when you introduce a zinc ionophore, which hydroxychloroquine is one, olive leaf extract is one, turmeric is another one, black seed oil is another one, and quercetin is another one. It opens up the cell membrane to allow zinc to rush in, and then zinc will turn off the replication of the virus. Well, they maligned hydroxychloroquine and said, oh, it's a dangerous drug. But then us in Africa, we know about it very well because we get it over the counter. We use it for malaria. And so when they were making things up about hydroxychloroquine, I knew that it was part of the World Health Organization top safest and most effective and essential drugs. So I knew that they were lying about it being, toxic and hurting you, because we get it over the counter. And what I mean by that is you don't need a prescription to get it in Africa. You can get it like Tylenol or aspirin. But then the next thing happened, Kalanji, was they started talking about ivermectin. And then they were lying about ivermectin, told you it was just a horse dewormer, right, when it actually won the Nobel Prize in medicine in 2015 for eradicating river blindness in human beings. in West Africa. So I said, why are they lying about ivermectin? But they knew that people wouldn't research it because they know that people are using their smartphones for anything other than being smart. They're using it to post selfies and what they ate today on Facebook instead of accessing the library of the world. And if you would have done that, you'd have found that ivermectin not only was not a horse dewormer, and the reason why that's a very important point to make is because penicillin is used for animals and human beings. Penicillin is used as an antibiotic for farm animals as well as it's used for human beings, but no one would ever say that penicillin is a cow medicine. But because ivermectin is actually so effective, it's used for all mammals. It's used for horses, all types of animals, pets, and it's used for human beings. We are part of the mammalian family, and it's won the Nobel Prize in Human Medicine. So now my spidey sense was tingling. And so I remember the words of Brother Malcolm X. He said that whoever and whatever the powers that be tell you to stay away from is who you need to run to. So I started doing a deep dive on ivermectin, and lo and behold, look what I found. I found in the research that it had over 20 mechanisms of action against SARS-CoV-2. And the papers were there. But then when I did a deeper dive, I found papers in scientific studies showing that it also kills cancer by different mechanisms. And then I started researching cancer and hydroxychloroquine. And then there were papers about how hydroxychloroquine kills cancer. I said, wait, there's something about these antiparasitics in cancer. Now, backtrack a little bit. When I started experimenting with olive leaf extract, which we make at Herbal Results, off of my cannabis studies on cannabis and cancer, I moved to another plant because of the problems that cannabis presents legally. And also a lot of people can't handle the high. And so I found another plant that could do the same things around cancer through the studies that I was researching. And it was the leaves of the olive tree had studies showing that it killed cancer cells between 9 and 12 days. And then it showed that it reversed high blood pressure, high blood sugar, killed all types of parasites, viruses, and bacterial infections and what have you. So I thought this was an all-in-one. And actually, my very first customer with the olive leaf extract was a woman who was sick, and they didn't know what her problem was, the medical establishment. And she took the olive leaf extract. On day 1, a fibroid came out of her, detached and came out of her. On day 2, a long white intestinal worm came out of her. And while she was on the toilet. And so I knew that olive leaf extract was also an antiparasitic. But then lo and behold, and I'm gonna land the plane, Kalanji.
That's so good.
Lo and behold, because I knew that it was antiparasitic, I knew that it was anti-cancerous olive leaf extract, I get a phone call in 2017 from a man named Dr. Charles Harrigan asking me if I'm the guy who makes the olive leaf extract. And I said, yes. He says, thank you. I'd like to thank you for saving my life. I had prostate cancer and I took your olive leaf extract and now I'm cancer free. And so I recorded his testimonials on our website, herbalresults.net. Anyone can go to the testimonials page and see the video from Dr. Charles Harrigan with prostate cancer that was reversed. And then 2 months later, a woman calls me, and same thing. Her name is Velma Samuel, and she had a breast tumor the size of a quarter. And it was seen to be cancerous. And she took the olive leaf extract, and within a month and a half, she went back for a scan and it completely disappeared. So she gave me the same conversation around, thank you, you saved my life. Anything you need, let me know. Anything I can do for you, let me know. And I said, yeah, there's one thing you can do for me, record your testimonial. So we have her testimonial. So that's my beginning in knowing that olive leaf extract not only has studies that it reverses cancer and kills cancer cells and tumors, but my own personal experience with people who now have been taking my olive leaf extract products. So now it's matching up with the scientific studies. So I knew that the olive leaf extract has anti-cancer effects just by the fact that we're getting cancer reversals, just with that, nothing else. But I didn't know the mechanism of action, Kalanji. I didn't know exactly how it was killing cancer. Until now, fast forward to the pandemic, I'm starting to find a link between anti-parasitics in cancer reversal. And then what I find out, Kalonji, is every single anti-parasitic, every single one, whether it's pharmaceutical or natural. So pharmaceutical would be ivermectin, fenbendazole, albendazole, mebendazole, hydroxychloroquine. On the non-pharmaceutical, on the natural side, would be olive leaf extract, black seed oil, turmeric, Artemisia annua, which is sweet wormwood, soursop leaves, apricot seeds, baking soda. All of them have studies on the U.S. National Institute of Health website showing that they kill cancer, confirming that they kill cancer. So then the light bulb moment happened for me. I said, wait, either cancer is a parasite or it's related to parasites. So I started doing a deeper dive, and then I started finding video evidence of every single cancer patient being riddled with what you call intracellular parasites. And I have the videos, I can show it. And so Saturday, we're going to be covering this. And what Marcus Garvey said is that if we're going to get out of our situation as a people, we're going to have to become scientists par excellence. And so what I'm doing with my lectures is, it's not a lecture of Heru's telling you what he believes. It's me showing you the modality of how I got to where I got to in being able to find the research. So I'm going to show people my techniques in finding the research, going over the studies, and then demystifying scientific studies so that anyone can read scientific studies and make their own conclusions. So it's going to be a very, very dynamic conversation that we're going to have, because it's not going to be a regular lecture. It's going to be receipts. It's going to be showing you the methodology, how you can look into these things yourself and then come up with your own conclusions. So in a lot of ways, because I do have a science background, I have a degree in biology and also psychology with a focus on neuroscience, but I also have a law degree. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually fuse law and medicine on Saturday, where the audience are going to be the jury. You're going to be the jury, and the question that's being asked is that, is cancer a parasite or related to parasites? And do anti-parasitics work in reversing cancer? And I'm going to show you with studies. I'm going to show you with video testimonials. We may even have some live testimonials, and then we'll go over the protocol that I have developed in cancer reversal and the results that I've gotten from all different parts of the world. So it's going to be comprehensive. It's probably going to be a lecture that's going to change a lot of people's lives, because you will learn how to be able to reverse cancer from the comfort of your home and in a non-toxic way. And this is all backed up. And so the difference is that I'm backing this up with these people's own studies. Right? So it's not like these are my own studies. These are, I'm not freestyling. These are studies that already exist from the U.S. National Institute of Health website. And these studies go back as far as 1891, Kalonji, all the way up to 2024. I have studies that are showing the same thing, that cancer is a parasite and cancer can be treated as a parasite and even a metabolic parasite. And these are not my words. These are words from scientific institutions and universities from all over the world that I've compiled in my book called The Successful Eradication of Cancer Using an Intracellular Parasite Theory. So it should be a really interesting time on Saturday. People who are interested in getting tickets should go to eradicateconference.com. You can get tickets there. We're going to be starting at 4 p.m. on Saturday, April 12th on time, because we have a lot to cover, a lot to go over, and there's going to be a lot of questions. We expect doctors to be in the house, nurse practitioners to be in the house, and they can feel free to ask whatever questions they have, challenge anything that I'm saying. I've been doing this for some time, so I'm very clear on the questions that people will be asking and the follow-up that people want to do. But everything is going to be there. We're going to have the receipts. We're going to have videos of real people. We're going to have some real people in the house who benefited from this protocol. So that's going to be at Arts Exchange at 4 p.m. That is on Noonan Street. Let me give you the exact address on Noonan Street.
Let me remind you, Heru, this is definitely an international show. We have folks like, so he's talking about we are in Atlanta. Heru would be in Atlanta, Georgia. That would be, or is that the East Point area? And that's 4 p.m. EST. Are you doing? And we're definitely going to allow you to share specifics. But are you on the road currently? Is this like a tour situation or
so I go where people request. So for instance, I had a lecture in Brooklyn and Queens a couple months ago, and Washington DC, and folks in Atlanta have asked me to come, and I come. I don't charge to speak, because I think that this information is just so important that people can look into it, and it can be absolutely life-changing. So I show people exactly what to do and how to do it in terms of like dosages and how frequently you take this. And really, my protocol is a 3-part protocol. It addresses diet, so that you adopt a diet that is a diet without sugar and a low carbohydrate diet, because that's what actually feeds the tumors. And then we have this immune system fortification, because your immune system is what actually fights off cancer, and what kills cancer is what you call immune system T cells. And if your immune system is low, it will not be able to do what it's supposed to do. So one of the first things that a cancer patient should be made to do is to take a vitamin D and a magnesium and selenium and zinc blood test to see if they're low. And what we find out is that just about everyone who has cancer is deficient in vitamin D, deficient in magnesium, deficient in zinc, deficient in selenium. And those are the 4 things that the immune system absolutely needs. And so, we've come up with products to address that. And then the 3rd part of the protocol is anti-parasitics, where I give people a choice of 4 or 5 anti-parasitics to take along with the olive leaf extract, so we can attack this from many different angles. And we've been quite successful in doing this. And like I said, people shouldn't believe anything that I'm saying. You can just go to herbalresults.net. Now, and what I'll do for people, for the benefit of your listeners, because you have all these online listeners, what I'm going to do, Kalonji, real quick, is I'm just going to show people the website, and we'll be able to see some of these testimonials, at least the titles of the testimonials. I'm not going to play anything because they're long, because they're very in-depth, but can you all see the screen? Are you able to share the screen, Kalonji? Are you there, Kalonji?
My apologies. I'm actually on my phone now. I'm having some problems with the internet where I'm at right now.
Okay.
So what I will do, we can share the website.
I'll just share the website. Yeah, absolutely.
And for folks, and I would also say, I guess the information to be on the website.
Yeah. So what people need to do is, if you're interested in the conference, if you are wanting to attend, you're in the Atlanta area, you can go to eradicateconference.com, and then you can either get online tickets or you can get physical tickets. If you are somewhere living outside of Atlanta, you can watch it online. So go to eradicateconference.com. But if people want to look into what I'm saying a little bit further, and you have intellectual curiosity, which I think everybody should do, don't believe anything that I'm saying. Check into what I'm saying. And what we've done is, because of my legal background, is that I provided different levels of evidence, because I know that what I'm saying sounds foreign to a lot of people and almost fantastic and wild, but the proof is in the pudding and the receipts are there. And that's why I've made it my job to record the testimonials and interviews with people who once had cancer, who no longer have it, by doing an anti-parasitic regimen, boosting up their immune system and staying away from sugar and refined carbohydrates. That is pretty much the long and short of it. But when you go to my website, herbalresults.net, that's HERBAL results, RESULTS.net. We're not just selling product that we make. We're also giving people an education, and the education is free. You're able to go to the testimonials page. And when you go to testimonials page, you will see stage 3 prostate cancer reversals. You'll see end stage esophageal cancer reversals, lung cancer reversals, endometrial cancer reversals, breast cancer reversals, liver cancer reversals, lung cancer reversals, brain cancer reversals. It's all there. So everyone can just press play and spend a day watching. And then below that, you see high blood pressure and diabetes reversals. and listen to that. And if you listen to that, you'll understand the modality and the way that we thinking about health. And I believe that we have the correct theory on these problems, which is based on metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance and chronic inflammation. And inflammation only comes from three places. It comes from either injury, infection, or food. And 80% of the inflammation that most people are getting, or 80% of people who have inflammatory-based diseases, which high blood pressure is one, diabetes is another, and cancer is an inflammatory-based disease based on inflammation feeding parasites and creating an environment for parasites to thrive. And that inflammation usually is from sugar. So there's really two main sources of food-based inflammation. That would be sugar and vegetable oils. These vegetable oils are absolutely toxic. They were actually made, these vegetable seed oils, it sounds healthy. This is how the system plays with people. These are seed oils, and the extraction process of oil from the seeds is a toxic process where they use all types of toxic materials, and then it ends up with a thing called linoleic acid, which is extremely inflammatory. And so your corn oil, your sunflower oil, your canola oil, and people don't even know what the hell a canola is, but they're still buying it. They don't know a vegetable named canola, and they're buying it, but these things are toxic. And these oils, Kalanji, were actually meant and made for industrial equipment, lubricants for industrial equipment. But when they found out that it was so cheap to make, they started giving it to human beings. So the healthiest oil that you're going to take is coconut oil, unrefined coconut oil, because coconut oil and coconut milk are healthy fats that mimic mother's breast milk because it has a thing called monolaurin or lauric acid. And we're going to cover all of these things because what I want people to do is I want you, whenever you come to my lectures, to literally leave as a different human being and being able to understand health and being able to look up the side effects of the medications you're taking, because the people who contact me, I spend 80% of my time, Kalanji, going over the side effects of the medications that they've been given that they never knew about. So the high blood pressure medications, most of them cause acute renal failure, and their doctor has never told them that. That would be lisinopril, captopril, any of these prils, amlodipine. These things cause loss of memory. And we're gonna, erectile dysfunction, and we're gonna cover all of this. And so now people won't have to rely on me. They'll understand the methodology. It's the philosophy of teach a man to fish or give a man a fish. My lectures are teaching you how to fish so that you don't have to contact me. I give you the tools necessary to be able to access the same information that I access and to make sense of it. Because once you understand the root cause of all of these illnesses, you'll now avoid that type of behavior and putting those foods into your system, which is going to predictably cause you to have inflammation of your arterial walls, which is what they're calling high blood pressure and heart disease. And I wish they would just call these things what they were. Because you say high blood pressure, you don't understand what it is. But if you tell people it's inflammation of your arterial walls caused by sugar, then people in inflammation, people start to understand and say, well, maybe I should stop eating sugar and foods that form into sugar. All diabetes is inflammation of the pancreas and the liver, causing insulin resistance, which causes chronic inflammation throughout the body, because the insulin no longer is able to do its job by transporting glucose into the cell for energy. And so that glucose gets stuck in the blood because the transporter, which is called insulin, no longer works. And when that glucose is stuck in the blood, you get high blood sugar. So I'm going to explain all of this. And so now people start to understand it and they can heal themselves, man, without the medical system, because at the end of the day, what they're doing is that they're extracting your wealth.
Right.
They're extracting your wealth. That's what they're doing. They're extracting your wealth by you being sick. And so you go to the grocery store, and the only thing that's good in the grocery store is the outside aisles. Everything in the inner aisles is trash and processed foods. Facts. And then in the grocery stores, we're old enough, Kalanji, that we used to know grocery stores when they didn't have pharmacies in them. Now all grocery stores have pharmacies because they know everybody's sick, and they know that the food they're selling you is about to make you sick. So they'll make it very convenient for you to get your so-called food and your medicine from their pharmaceutical companies at the same time. That's why they have pharmacies in every single grocery store now. And the smaller stores, what do they call them? They call them convenience stores, right? Because they want to make it convenient for you to get your toxic food and their so-called solution, which is also toxic. So we're gonna get into all of this, man, on Saturday. So it's gonna be very long. It's gonna be comprehensive.
You know what's wild though, Heru? Just thinking about what you're saying, I'm thinking about the fact that, you know, folks talk about, well, I'm going to the health food store. It's like, okay, well, what is this other store then?
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know this, okay, I got to stop by the health food store.
Right.
I went grocery shopping, now I got to go to the health food store. Now I got to go get some things that actually keep me alive, that actually, you know, heal me, so on and so forth. I'm just, you know, knowing you for the last 25 years, right? And just peeping the journey from, like I said, from the spoken word to movement tunes. Heru had a whole, he had a streaming service when streaming services weren't popular, streaming quote unquote conscious music. You know what I mean? Streaming revolutionary music. And we were, you know, blessed to have some of our works on there years ago. But just watching your growth and your transformation as a brother, as an Ndugu, as a comrade, you know, I say that I'm proud of you, and that's not in any other way. I mean, you know me, so it is what it is. But yeah. I'm saying that this is it's an honorable thing. It's saying what you're doing is, when we talk about revolution, this is revolutionary. You understand what I'm saying? This is one of the most revolutionary acts outside of love itself is healing thyself. Because if you can't love yourself, then you can't love anyone else. So this whole health process in and of itself, you know, it is as spiritual as anything else. You know what I mean? This is, especially when we talk about places like ancient Kemet, when we talk about spirituality, this is at the height of spirituality. If you can't heal yourself, then you can't defend yourself, because you can't defend yourself against yourself first. You can't defend yourself from what it is that you are intaking, the toxins that you are willingly absorbing and just, you know, digesting. I mean, it's gangster on so many levels. And
I gotta say this too. You know, it's a mutual admiration society. I've seen what you've done in the last 20 years, Kalonji, and you've been, if not anything, I think the word that would describe you is consistent. You've been consistent, and you've kept this show going since, you know, I've known about it. You keep doing what you're doing, because at some point, all of us listen to the calling that we may have. And it's very clear that you had a calling early in your life and you stuck with it. You know, things can get tough, but at the end of the day, Kalonji is going to be engaged in his revolutionary activity and what he deems to be the proper thing to do based on his calling. And I think that we all can serve as examples to each other, where iron strengthens iron. So it's definitely mutual admiration society between myself and yourself. And I love what you're doing. And I love the fact that you provide a platform for people to get information that they normally would not get, because the mainstream media, I mean, when it comes to health, what people need to know is that all these mainstream media channels, 80% of their funding comes from advertisements from pharmaceutical companies. So there's never going to be any information that goes against the pharmaceutical companies. There's never going to be anyone on CNN or MSNBC that's actually going to tell you the side effects of the medications that you're taking. For instance, the most popular side effect, the most popular diabetes medication is called metformin. But if you look it up on drugs.com, I wish I could share a screen, but I'll do this on Saturday. The first listed side effect for metformin, which is the most popular diabetes drug, is death. That's literally the first listed side effect, death.
Wow.
And I would love to be able to show people, because it's like, oh, you sound crazy when you're saying, but when I'm able to show people the receipts, they can't believe it. So at the end of the day, what we're looking to do, and the crazy thing is that you mentioned ancient Kemet. Ancient Kemet represented the best of what we could do in terms of making work that stands the test of time. And without our ancestors building these pyramids on a grand scale and painting and giving the proper hue of the skin to show that these were African people with paint that does not fade away, we would not have a record of the greatness that we were able to achieve when we are unmolested and unbothered as a people. You know, the heights that we can reach. But the other things that I want to say about health is that you made a very important point. everybody needs to be their own doctor, because everybody has their own body. And if you have your own body, that means that no one should know your body better than you. But because we have such a trash educational system, we've relegated health to a priest class. And that priest class is called your doctor. But when we start to look under the hood, we start to find out that all of these doctors, or most of them, are sick themselves.
That's right.
Right? And so how can you be a paragon of health if you're sick? Your doctor can't even do 10 push-ups, but you're going to them for health advice. But what has happened is that you have centralized medicine, which has basically created a priest class that you cannot question. You can't, it becomes a religion. So what I'm doing in the lectures is I'm decentralizing health solutions, so that what's happening is that I am not your high priest of health. What I'm doing is I'm creating a system of understanding health so that you can be your own high priest of health, and you can be the high priest for your family. You decentralize it so that the information becomes commonplace to everyone, because everyone owns a body. Everyone owns their own body, which means that everyone should understand the basic tenets of health that is going to show you what is necessary for you to not only survive, but thrive in the world that you live in. And that is the point of education. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to decentralize knowledge. We're going to decentralize medicine. We're going to decentralize health, so it's no longer locked into the purview of a priest class, which cannot be questioned, cannot be challenged, because they are holier than everyone else because they went to medical school. And what you start to find out is that those people who went to medical school, they only have one modality that many times is actually not working, because it's not solving the root cause of the problem. It is just putting a Band-Aid on the issue. But then it turns out that the Band-Aid ends up being toxic, because the body cannot process man-made chemicals. The body is a naturally made body, made by Mother Nature. And so when you take pharmaceutical drugs, they have to be man-made, because that's the only way they can get a patent. You can't get a patent on something natural. So this is the intersection between law, commerce, and medicine, where the only medicines that your doctors are going to prescribe you and can prescribe you is what they call medicines that are under their standard of care. Who determines standard of care? The medical boards. Who funds the medical boards and the medical journals? The pharmaceutical companies. Go to any medical journal and look at the ad section. It's all pharmaceutical ads, because the pharmaceutical companies are incentivized to sell you their medicine, because they spend billions of dollars on the research to be able to get a patent, which gives them exclusive licensing rights for that particular chemical compound, which typically is it is an offshoot in a chemical restructuring of something natural that deals with a certain problem. But because they've made a tweak to it, a pharmaceutical tweak to it in the laboratory, they can now get a patent on this thing. But the problem is, when you start making tweak to things that are natural, it becomes unnatural, and the body cannot synthesize it. And when the body cannot fully synthesize these things, you end up with body malfunctions, which the medical nomenclature is side effects. And so anytime that you're taking a pharmaceutical, if you're taking it for an extended amount of time, you can expect to get side effects, because the body cannot integrate everything that man has made. And then it turns out that the food that you're eating in the grocery stores are man-made foods in laboratories as well. And that's why you're getting all these side effects from the food that you're eating. So now in Africa, we call it two troubles, one God. So you've got the trouble of man-made food and the trouble of man-made medicine, but the body cannot process these things and ends up getting side effects, which is body malfunctions. And so we're going to cover all of that. And so when people understand that, they're going to start reading food labels. They're going to start looking at the side effects of the medications, and then they're going to look for alternatives. But your doctor doesn't know any alternatives, because the doctor was never allowed to be trained in plant medicine, because there's no money in it for the pharmaceutical companies that fund the medical schools. So you see where the incentive structure is at.
Wow. This is on so many levels. I mean, just going from media to, as you mentioned, the medical schools themselves. Just the insanity of it. These folks are so gangster. When you talk about capitalism, this is capitalism 101. It's like, create these issues and put a price tag on it just to keep you coming back. So it's like they put a Band-Aid on a harpoon wound. You know what I'm saying? They put
a wound that they created. A wound that they created.
Absolutely. And you almost have to, if you were evil, you would admire their diabolical nature. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
The level of ruthlessness is so next level that I don't even think people understand what's going on. Heru, we have to get you back on here at least once a month. I know you're busy, but
no problem. I would love to do that.
Cool. And we need to talk behind the scenes as well, because I do have some road dates, and I think it's important to collab on some things, because I think that, again, this is just as revolutionary as anything else. When you're talking about healing, when you're talking about health, when you're talking about combating, because that's what you're doing right now. You're combating a system of genocide, a genocidal system that, to a great extent, what these folks are doing, it's like they have what's that, boric acid, or like some of the powders and the pesticides that they give, they lay out for bugs and whatnot, and they take it back to their colony. That's what they're doing with these damn grocery stores and with these hospitals. And I appreciate you laying it out in a way that is, it's you can't go to war with it. You can't disagree with it. It's like, it's not a hypothetical, a mystical, magical, let me just throw a bunch of words at you. Break it down in the simplest form. Break it down to the simplest compound. And that's what we appreciate what you've been doing since I've known you. So again, definitely let's talk about having you on a little more regularly, because I think that it's it's important to lay it out. Where can folks get the product, and tell us again about what's going on in Atlanta this Saturday?
Yeah, so in terms of the products that we've developed, the flagship product is the olive leaf extract. We make our own products from scratch, by the way, based on my scientific research and my own ingredients. And what we do is that we don't add any filler to anything that we make. So everything is the pure thing that you're getting. Most of the times when you get even a health food, we go to health food stores and you go to get vitamins and supplements. A lot of times they add filler. Most of the time they add filler. And so we don't add any filler. We believe that the best part is no part at all. So if you're going to get vitamin D, you're going to get the carrier oil for it, which is the coconut oil. Then you're going to get vitamin D. You're not going to see anything else in it. You get olive leaf extract, you'll get the extraction medium and the olive leaf extract. And that's it. There's nothing else. There's no food coloring. There's no anything. So you can go to herbalresults.net and you can get olive leaf extract. You can get vitamin D3 plus K2. You can get our new product that we made for the immune system, magnesium, zinc, and selenium. Has absolutely no fillers. You can get Vitex for women. Because we find that most of the gynecological problems that women have, this is a whole lecture unto itself. Most of the gynecological problems, whether it be endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, uterine cysts, menopause symptoms, heavy menstrual bleeding, cramps, infertility. A lot of that is because the women are estrogen dominant. And they have too much estrogen in their blood and not enough progesterone, which is a balancing hormone. And it turns out that there's a herb called chasteberry, which is also named Vitex, that causes the body to make more natural progesterone. And once you have that balance, all of a sudden now, all these problems go away. And the medical establishment is making money, particularly off of Black women, with hysterectomies. So basically the way it goes, Kalanji, and I'm just going to spend a second on it because I know you have to go, but I think this is really important, is that when Black women go to hospitals, if you have a headache, they'll suggest that you get a hysterectomy. If you broke your foot, they're going to suggest a Black woman to get a hysterectomy. If she's got an eye infection, they're going to suggest maybe how about a hysterectomy? You know what I mean? They're looking to do hysterectomies, which is basically just ripping out your womb and making you sterile. and you won't be able to reproduce. And Black women are being targeted for hysterectomies. And it turns out that they can be completely avoided gynecologically when you have endometriosis or fibroids or what have you, or uterine cancers, whatever, without having to do a hysterectomy by just doing a blood panel, which most of these gynecologists do not do. And the reason why I know this is because it happened to my sister. She had endometriosis and I didn't know about it. And they were trying to get her to do a hysterectomy because they say, oh, if you take out your womb, it won't come back. And those who don't know, endometriosis, man, is very painful. The lining of the endometrium and the uterus comes out every month. So like in the woman's period blood, you'll see clumps of tissue. And the ripping out is extremely, extremely painful, like torture, man. And so they put her on Depo-Provera, which makes you sterile, because she refused to do a hysterectomy. And then when I looked at the problem, when she finally told me about it, because she'd been suffering in silence, which a lot of women tend to do, the solution was a $25 bottle of Vitex. And we were able to get a reversal for her while she was seeing the top gynecologist in Miami for 6 or 7 years with no results. So yeah, this is real. So we decided to make our own Vitex. So we have our own Vitex that we make, chasteberry, and we have a couple other things for people there. But these deal with the main issues of dealing with gynecological problems, immune system problems, and also inflammatory issues.
Real quick.
Yeah.
How real? Because again, we playing crackers advocate right now.
Mm-hmm.
How real is medical apartheid? Because we hear about it. I can't think of sister's name that wrote the book.
Yeah. It's real. I mean, with people in prison, they use them for all types of scientific studies, and they don't really even have informed consent. They'll put them through drug trials and what have you. So medical apartheid. Here it is. Here's what I would say is that when people have a lack of information, they're the easiest people to get over on. So for instance, if you don't know anything about cars and your mechanic is unscrupulous, they kind of test you out first to see if you know anything about cars. But once you give any indication that you don't know anything about cars, they can run up the bill on you, tell you things are wrong that aren't wrong. There's nothing that you can do. So the way I like to look at it is, I don't really want to look at it. No, there's always the racial aspect, but to me, it's a knowledge aspect, because what knowledge does is it protects you from the abuses of others. Because if they look at you and they think that you don't know anything about health or the medical system, they'll just prescribe anything to you to make quotas from the pharmaceutical companies. And I'll give you an example. And what we know is that when you study economics, incentives drive behavior. Let me throw this out there. The doctors are just about the only profession who get paid irrespective of results. So for instance, your mechanic gets paid based on fixing your car. And if they tell you that they fixed your car and you drive the car out the lot and it falls apart with the same problem before you gave the mechanic the car, you can get your money back. You demand your money back. But you can go see your doctor and have high blood pressure, and you have it for year 1, year 2, all the way to year 20, and you're still paying this person, and they're seeing you, and your disease has never been resolved. You can have cancer and die of cancer in a year, but the doctor still gets $300,000 a month from your insurance company. They can bill $300,000 a month to your insurance company, irrespective of the results. So you can die of diabetes and have it for 20 years, and your doctor got paid every year of the 20 years that they're treating you for diabetes, but it never went away. Your blood sugar never improved. You've gotten other side effects. You went for high blood pressure. Now you've got 5 years later, you've got high blood pressure and kidney failure, because kidney failure is the side effect of the medication that your doctor prescribed for you. It's actually written in there. It's written in the side effect panel that your kidneys are going to fail. It's written there. I mean, I'm going to go over it. You know what I'm saying?
It's insane. They tell you.
It's absolutely insane. They get paid irrespective. So even lawyers, like a criminal defense lawyer, they'll get paid even if you still go to jail. But there's systems in law where they don't get paid if they can't retrieve civil money for you. Like if you got into a car accident, you want to sue somebody, the lawyer only gets a third if they're able to retrieve money. So now they're incentivized to actually do good work for you, right? But a doctor in all cases gets paid irrespective of whether they solve your problem. So what that means is, so the only people who get paid irrespective of whether like performance is doctors and preachers. And this is why I talk about a priest class, right? The priest class gets worshiped and paid and gets tribute irrespective of the results or the outcomes. You understand?
Right.
So what happens is that these doctors are
going to hell.
Yeah, exactly. So these doctors get paid irrespective of results. Now, what happens if you have a system where doctors only get paid based on results? Now they would be incentivized to actually heal you. So this is part of the problem is that the medical establishment and pharmaceutical companies have created a system where they get paid irrespective of outcomes. So they're never motivated to solve your problem. They get paid anyway.
That's right.
So we're gonna talk about all of this, man. So yeah, Kalonji, I'll be happy to work with you. We can talk behind the scenes to get this information out there and to decentralize healing so that it's not just with one person, because we know what the vector is with that. They can take out one person and all of a sudden all this information's gone. But when you decentralize it, and 1 million people now know how to reverse cancer, and 1 million people now know how to reverse diabetes, and 1 million people now know how to reverse high blood pressure. Now you can't stop it.
The game changes. The game changes indeed. Listen, Heru, man, we could sit here for hours and days because I'm I feel bad that we didn't set aside an entire webinar for this. For folks who are at home, again, we have just on this morning show alone, we have folks on 3 different continents that are our hosts. For folks who can't make it out Saturday, how do they check it out? Because I know that people are looking at this now and they're like, man, I thought Kalonji was gonna have some type of quack on here because this brother talking about curing cancer and all this type stuff. What are he talking about? We unfortunately sometimes we come in with a disagreeable mind. But
you know what I find about that though?
What's that?
I am very receptive to that, Kalonji, because I don't believe that anyone should believe what I'm saying. Look into what I'm saying and be skeptical, right? Be very skeptical. Be skeptical of everybody. And when they provide you receipts, your job is to actually look at the receipts. And so what I'm saying is that I'm not just making these statements. I have the receipts for people to look at. So skepticism is healthy, and anybody who's doing anything honestly will be very happy for you to look at their results. Right? It's only people who are trying to hide something or, obfuscate the truth who get upset with skeptics. And what I've also found, Kalonji, is the people who start out as skeptics, who now see the truth in what you're saying, actually become your biggest cheerleaders.
Absolutely. And that goes with anything in life. These are folks who are true to it. But the key that you mentioned was actually looking at the receipts. Not just dismissing, like, I don't have to read that because I listen to I listen to Dr. Frankenstein. He said it's all good. So
absolutely. And I never made any of these conversations public until I got a reasonable number of reversals. So you get one reversal and you start talking about it, then the people say, oh, it was a fluke. Then you get 2. But what happens when you got 12, you've got 20, you've got 30, you've got 40, about now we're getting about a reversal every week. I'm dealing with about 68 people. You go ahead.
I'm saying it, and I can testify to that because I can attest to that because I'm looking at, and shout out to our brother Marcus Klein up in Chicago, Freedom Home Academy. I remember sitting in his basement. I knew him from the magazine Frontline, and I remember he said, I'm about to start a school. And I'm just like, man, you bugging out. And I remember Heru from years ago. And I hear like, okay, I got an olive leaf extract and I'm about to get into this whole science and so on and so forth. And I knew you as a lawyer, as an attorney, so on and so forth. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this brother bugging. But to your point, This is what happens with greatness. You know what I mean? Everyone can't see your path, as you mentioned earlier. Everybody's not going to know what it takes or what you are made of until you show and prove. So definitely I appreciate, you and brothers, like I said, like my brother Marcus, I mentioned earlier, and so many others that we've watched on this pathway and on this road and on this journey. And I'm grateful to say that there will come a time soon and very soon, as they would say in the church, when we will have some good elders, some good OGs to look at, because as you know, we got some fools running around as well. You know what I mean? So I'm just grateful that we can look up and we can see, okay, it's not all gone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And one thing, Kalanji, you'd mentioned elders who, like Imam H. Brown, Jalil. Yeah. I'm willing, if he's willing to and they'll allow it, I'm willing to send the products for free to him. Right on.
So hopefully, and again, I can't, I can speak to, his sons and everything. I'm not going to speak as if I can speak about his legal thing, but I'm hoping that at the very least he can get a compassionate release or something, so that he can get some type of health care. I know that Dr. Matula Shakur had a similar situation, and he lived, some months, 7 to 9 months, something of that nature, with some of the treatment that he had from some folks that were part of his team. So, we pray that Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly H. Brown, one of the reasons why I'm here in Atlanta, the primary reason that I moved to the city of Atlanta to aid and assist in his case, we pray that, that he's able to get proper treatment and that he is released and that, that he can be taken care of. But I would definitely put you in touch with family, and, whatever happened.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And what you could do is just send them my website to look at the testimonials page. And then if they're interested from what they see, I'm definitely willing to donate any of the products that we have to help him get a reversal.
No question.
All right,
brother. So, hopefully I'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I said, for folks who have to watch it from abroad, how can they tap in?
Yep, just go to eradicateconference.com, and then you'll see the ability to buy tickets online or, to get physical tickets. So both options will be there. The website is eradicateconference.com. And people who want to rap with me personally, you just go to herbalresults.net, go to the contact page and just email me there. And I'll get back to you. I get a lot of emails, so give me about 24, at the most 48 hours to get back to you. If it's an emergency, just put that in the subject and then, I'll respond quicker. But just to let people know, I'm dealing with about 68 cancer patients right now. And so, I'm quite busy. So just, please bear with me if it takes a little bit long to get back to you, but I will get back to you. I get back to everybody. Thank you.
No doubt. And salute to our brothers, Ankh and Fifth World, Tanisio, for staying on top of me, because they've been like, look, man, you gonna get Brother Heru on this show. I'm like, man, tell Heru to call me. Like, the man is busy. But anyway, but definitely shout out to our brothers, man, for being steadfast. And again, I appreciate you and your work. And I will see you this week, brother.
All right. And people who are asking about the online option not showing up, I'm going to talk to the organizers and make sure that that's up on that page. Okay. On eradicateconference.com. It may be on a different place that I'm not aware of because I'm not the organizer, but I'll make sure that the link to purchase the tickets somehow is on that page, eradicateconference.com. Just check in another 30 minutes to an hour and it should be there. All right.
No doubt. All right, brother, be safe and we will see you soon.
All right, man. Peace.
No doubt. Peace. You're checking out. This is the Rise Up International Morning Show. That was our brother Heru, who we will have on periodically. Brother that I've known for almost half my life now at this point, which is which is wonderful, which is a powerful thing. We appreciate the work that he's putting in, and we look forward to bringing more individuals like himself to talk about our health, to talk about spirituality, to talk about revolution as a whole, education, etc. Because this is where it's at, this is where we are. Instead of complaining about what this particular administration is doing and not doing and what type of things they're cutting out, keeping it quite real, some of this need to be cut out. I mean, we need to cut out that whole damn system, but that's a whole nother story because it's cancerous itself. We got to figure out how to do that. But again, we appreciate you all supporting Black Power Media Reloaded. We appreciate you supporting the Rise Up International Morning Show. Again, we have plans on moving beyond YouTube because we know that when we bring on folks like Heru, oftentimes we get flagged because we're talking about what mainstream media is not talking about. We're talking about what this government doesn't want you to, they don't want you to know. So we need your support in saying, you know what, man, I dig the programming. I like what they're bringing to the table. I would love to see them on my TV screen. I would love to see them on other sites or whatever the case is, other streaming services controlled and operated by people who have our interests at heart and our best interests in hand. So if you're down with that, make sure you go to blackpowermedia.org, blackpowermedia.org, and drop a donation in. You know what I'm saying? Do that. And also, if you can't do that, join our mailing list, our email list, and also share our content with your network. That's how we do this thing around here. That's why we talk about community and moving forward. But anyway, we appreciate you all for being the best you can be. We have a new show coming up next, the fourth Thursday of the month, a show that will be hosted by Charles and Inez Barron. I don't have the name right now. I think they're trying to settle on the name, but it's official. Brother Charles Barron and Inez Barron out of New York, revolutionaries, politicians, etc., who've been putting in work for decades. They'll be joining the Black Power Media family, so make sure you stay tuned to that. Also, next Thursday, I believe it's next Thursday, April 17th, we have Beyond Cop Cities and Ultra Counterinsurgencies. And our host will be our brother Rakeem Shabazz, but we will have Dr. Joy James, Ward Churchill, Kiana Jones-Moore, Dr. Myron Gilmore, and myself will be talking about counterinsurgencies. That is a webinar. So you have to register for that. And it's free. It's not going to cost you a thing. So if you would like to register, make sure you're on our email list. Go to blackpowermedia.org, join our email list, and we will set you straight on that. Again, we appreciate you all joining us this morning. Have a powerful, super day and weekend. And be safe out here. It's real in the battlefield. And we're going to win despite ourselves. Till next time, Black Power Media, Rise Up Morning Show. Stay safe. Peace.